Hello everyone. In this video, I explain C++ code for Prim's algorithm. We define a class Prims. There are the two main array. One is the visited array for marking whether the node is visited or not. 0 means not visited, 1 means visited. Then there is a cost matrix, which is a two-dimensional array which store the age values from vertex v1 to vertex v2. Then there is a constructor prims which initialize the visited array as 0. So mark all the nodes as not visited. Then we have to construct the graph of adjacency matrix in the form of adjacency matrix. So how you can construct the graph? Suppose assume that this is a given graph G with 4 vertices. So adjacency matrix is contain 4 by 4 matrix. It's a 4 by 4 matrix. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 and the rows are 1, 2, 3, 4. Then for 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3 and 4, 4, these have no self loop. So all are assigned to infinity. So actually you have to initialize the adjacency matrix to infinity. And then you have to insert the edges as 1 to 2. There is an edge 2. So starting vertex is v1 is 1, v2 is 2 and the edge cost is 2. So you have to insert the edge cost as 2 and at the same time you have to insert the edge cost 2, 1 as 2. So while reading the edge cost, you have to insert the edge cost in the vertex 1, 2 as well as 2, 1 because we are using undirected graph. So let us see the code how to create the adjacency matrix. So void read graph. These are the variables we are needing. That is enter the number of edges. You have to store the number of nodes, number of edges into n and e. Then enter the adjacency matrix for I is equal to 1 to n, for j is equal to 1 to n. And you have to initialize the cost matrix as infinity. So here infinity is the constant which is defined using hash define infinity 999. Then here in this for loop, the cost matrix is initialized with the infinity value. Then you have to set a loop for number of edges from 0 to e. These are e is the number of edges. So for every edge, it is asking for the vertex 1 and vertex 2. So v1 is a starting vertex and v2 might be the ending vertex of the edge. So enter the cost. So enter the edge v1, v2 and the cost of the edge. So the cost is stored in the v1, v2 as well as v2, v1 is assigned the same cost because it is undirected graph. So in this way the graph is constructed in the form of adjacency matrix. Now the next is the implementation of Prim's algorithm. So this is a function of Prim's algorithm where mean is the minimum, the selection of minimum age. Minimum cost is the final cost of the spanning tree. The number of edges is initially marked as 1. So this is the main loop while mark the starting vertex as 1. So your vertex is starting from 1. So you have to start from the vertex 1. So mark the visited of 1 as 1. This indicates that you are starting from the vertex 1. Then while any is less than n, so number of edges in the minimum spanning tree is 1 less than the number of vertices. So it is this loop is set for constructing the minimum spanning tree. So initialize the mean variable with infinity. Then you have to set write the two loops for I is equal to 1 to n, j is equal to 1 to n. And if the cost of ij is minimum and less than minimum and the node is visited, then you have to update the minimum value and update the a and b variable. That is a is the vertex I and b is a vertex j. Here I and j, these are actually the index to the vertices. So initially it is 1, 1, it is ignored. then 1, 2. We check with 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. Okay, then I is incremented, it becomes 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4. Then I is incremented, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. And then in this way, this loop, it finds the minimum cost edge from the visited vertex only, because this is the AND condition. So you have to take only the visited vertex for finding the minimum cost edge. Then if after finding a minimum cost edge, you have to check whether that I and j is visited or not. So if it is 0, means it is not visited. So either A is not visited or B is not visited. Then you have to choose that edge for minimum spanning tree. Add that cost into the minimum cost, which is initialized with 0. So you have to add that cost and mark the visited second vertex visited as 1. Then update the cost of the selected edge to infinity. Otherwise, if you are not changed the cost of visited edge to infinity, the same edge is selected by the algorithm. So this is the very important step of making the cost of selected edge as infinity. So this is the end of the loop. And finally, you have to display the minimum cost. And this loop is continue until the number of edges are less than the n. Let us take the same example, the iteration. Let us understand this iteration of while loop, any less than n. So initially the value of any is 1. Number of vertices are 4. And we are stopping this while loop when this any is reaches to the 3 value. So let us see the first iteration 1. So in the first iteration, this is your cost matrix and you have started with the vertex 1. So the vertex 1 is visited. Now you have to see the minimum cost edge from this row only. So the minimum cost is 1 to 2. That this edge is having the minimum cost. Okay. So you have to choose this edge as a minimum cost edge as min. Then any is 1. Then you have to choose the starting vertex of this edge is A as 1 and the B as 2. Here 1 is visited but 2 is not visited. So this edge is considered or it is added into the minimum spanning tree. Now in the second iteration, the 1 and 2 both are visited. This 1 is also visited, 2 is also visited. So you have to look for the minimum cost edge from both the rows. The row 1 as well as row 2 is considered for finding the minimum cost edge. And one thing you have to observe that in the previous iteration you choose the edge 1, 2 as minimum. So that edge value, the cost is set to the infinity. So that the same edge is not considered for the next iteration. So this is, you are making the 1, 2 as infinity, similarly 2, 1 as infinity. Now you have to choose the minimum edge from this remaining values. So the third is the next minimum. So edge 1, 3 is inserted by this iteration and 1, 2 is previously added by the iteration 1. Number of edges becomes 2. Now the third iteration. In the third iteration, the visited nodes are 1, 2 and 3. So the visited are 1, 2, 3. Now in the last iteration, you are choosing the 1, 3 edge. So make the cost as infinity so that it will not be considered again in the next iteration. Now you have to choose the next minimum from the remaining values. So 4, 6, 5, 6 and 1. These are the remaining values for finding the minimum. So the next minimum is 1. So the edge 3, 4 is inserted in by the iteration 3. So number of edges become 3. The edges that is considered for the construction of minimum spanning tree is 1, 2. The second iteration choose 1, 3. Third iteration choose 3, 4. So the minimum cost spanning tree is constructed after the fourth iteration.